Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Slow Cooking with Shawn. It's Saturday, day 75 of the quarantine, getting together tonight. Super excited. I don't know if you saw, but I don't know, something about Instagram Live just not working. Maybe it's just the whole wide world's doing it. I don't know. But we're going to start out tonight just talking a little bit about what we're going to make. We're going to make the world famous Runza. Great to see everybody joining. Now, what is the Runza? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight, but let's get started. Actually, I have some of it already started. I got the ground beef going. Here's what we're going to put in the ground beef, just so you can see that. Nice. And then we're going to come over here. You'll notice we have onion, we got cabbage, and we have the dough here. So we're getting started. We got the burger already browning. I'm gonna get some onion cut up, and we're gonna put it in there so it cooks along with the burger. What is the Runza exactly? That's probably what some of you are wondering. Well, if you're from Nebraska, this is no big deal. You know exactly what I'm talking about. They actually have a food chain in Nebraska. It's the only place you can find this food chain. It's called Runza. And it's an old German delicacy, if you ask me. It's passed down really from German mama to German mama, all the way down, maybe even to guys like me who get lucky enough to get their mom's recipe. But the Runza is essentially it's a cabbage roll. So it's a dough. It has ground beef, cabbage, onion, garlic, deliciousness, all in this bread roll, and then you bake it. I think they're just perfect because you could take them out on the tractor. You could take them with you to the factory. You could take them wherever you needed to go. So the Runza was actually a working man's food. And so I was raised by working men and women. And Runza is what's on the menu tonight with Shawn Slow Cooking. So we're going to dice up this onion. Now, you don't have to put onion in your Runza. Like we said before, you know that I don't really like onion, but if you chop it up finely enough, you put it in food, man, it just brings out the flavor. So, pretty excited about making these tonight. This is really pretty personal to me. This is I call this my birthday episode because my birthday is this week, Tuesday. And when I was a kid growing up, my mom would always promise to cook us whatever our favorite food was on our birthday. It's funny, when I was a little kid, I used to actually want fried chicken and pancakes. Those were my two favorite things when I was a little kid. But as I've gotten older, one of my favorite foods in the entire world is the Runza. And you'll see why after we get it rocking and rolling, but it has everything that I really love. I love ground beef. Who doesn't love ground beef? And then you add cabbage, is probably one of the best vegetables in the entire world. And onion for good flavor. So we're going to take some of this onion, going to put it over here in the ground beef. I'll grab this. See, my brother's watching. He's actually at his house cooking right now. He's cooking Runza. I'm going to flip this around. You'll notice my gigantic pan. I got this online. I bought it. Pretty exciting. It actually takes 2 burners to run that bad boy. So you see I got the burger going right now. We're getting the onion. We're going to mix that in there. And that onion's going to cook down so we don't have big hunks because we don't really like that. Remember, this is Shawn's cooking. This is my cooking show. So we're going to cook that onion down real well. So I'm going to let that cook for a few minutes. All right, sweet. Glad to have everybody here. So, main ingredient. This is a staple in any good German home. Cabbage. Cabbage is where you find a sauerkraut, obviously. What's great, I actually went to a German restaurant here in the Phoenix metro area. And it's actually featured on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. And so one of our at the time he was a young pastor, he said, "Shawn and Jody, you just arrived here. I would love for you to come to this cool German restaurant." And so we get there, and I had a schnitzel, and he said, dude, have you ever had fried potatoes? And I laughed, and I was like, where are you from? But in the sea of Nebraska, fried potatoes, that's a staple. Fried potatoes, sauerkraut. These are things from our grandmas, our grandpas. These are things that we grew up eating on the prairie in Nebraska. So they had pretty good fried potatoes, but I got to be honest, I can make just as good a fried potatoes at a lot smaller, less price. And I would have to say that this place is called House Murphy's. If you ever get a chance, they do have some of the best sauerkraut I've ever eaten. It's not too sour. It's kind of creamy. I don't know. I really liked it. So here we go. We got the cabbage, and we're just going to dice this up really small. It's going to go in with our ground beef and our onion. I've already seasoned that ground beef with salt and pepper, so pretty simple actually. This doesn't have a lot of spices to it, so if you tuned in before, you've seen me make the Thai curry with tons of different spices. This is your down-home comfort food in Nebraska. Like I said, they have a restaurant chain called Runza. It's kind of a fast food joint, but they serve these at the Nebraska football games, Runzas, and then homemade recipes have been passed down from generation to generation in Nebraska. So if you're tuning in and you've never been in Nebraska and you've never had a Runza, tonight is your special treat. And like I said, it's my birthday episode, so one of my favorite foods in the whole wide world is the Runza. So for myself, I'm making Runzas tonight. Now that's a big old head of cabbage you saw me take down. So we're gonna move this back over here, get closer to our ground beef. I'm gonna set that right here. I hope everybody's doing good. You're getting excited for Easter? I hope so. Easter's long been a great holiday to spend with family. If you were anything like me, you would have on Sundays for Easter, everybody'd get together. And since my birthday is in the middle of April, it's April 14th, there's been times in my life that I've had Easter, it was my birthday. And so I've always kind of enjoyed it. It's been a special holiday to me. Family comes together on Easter. We get together, have delicious food. And when you're a kid, you go looking for the Easter eggs. And Easter egg hunts, of course, those are famous everywhere, but always seemed this time of year in Nebraska, the grass would begin to grow really, really high. And it was difficult sometimes in the spring to be able to find those eggs. And what was hilarious about being in Nebraska, and if you're from there, you know what I'm talking about here, is that you could have a blizzard all the way through May. So just because it says that it's spring doesn't mean that it's spring. In Nebraska, spring just kind of means it's another chance for a big old wet snow. So there were times I had birthdays and Easters in the snow, but still, it was never long lasting. That was always an amazing thing about snows in April and May. They were heavy and wet, and they would really bring out, the new growth for spring. And so everybody kind of likes those. And then what's great is they don't stick around very long, so it's not quite as cold. It's not those sub-zero temperatures. But anyway, back to my Runzas. We're getting really close. I'm gonna let you see those real quick. Ground beef's getting real close there, along with the onion. I know you're getting excited about this right now. So here in Phoenix, you're expecting 4 to 8 inches. My brother Shane said he's expecting 4 to 8 inches at home tomorrow. See what I mean? It's just like that. So when we moved here to Phoenix, we actually had some new friends over. And part of what Jody and I love to do is we love to cook for people. And so we cooked them the curry. It was a chicken curry. They liked it a lot. But then I pulled out the secret weapon. If you want to make friends, that'll never leave you, make them homemade Runzas. That's what I'm telling you. Make them homemade Runzas and they'll come back. Even if they don't like you, if you make a good Runza, they'll be your friends for life. So I'm going to go put this cabbage over here. Look at all that cabbage. That's going in that giant skillet. to get that stirred up here, and it's just going to cook down. And that cabbage will, trust me, it'll fry up really nice with that burger, the onion. Now, some people like garlic in theirs. I do. I'm one of those people. So, I can't tell you how much I'm going to put in here. That's a giant skillet full of the goodness. So, it's going to be quite a bit of garlic. How many from Nebraska watching this right now have seen something just like this in their mom's kitchen? Yeah, all that cabbage, all that burger. So how much of each did I use? It's not an overkill. It's not an overkill. So the ingredients, if you were checking my page out, I actually shared this, but I use about 2 pounds of burger and anywhere from, I don't know, it depends on the size of the cabbage. I didn't quite use all of that cabbage because once I put it in there, I was like, boy, that's just going to be too much. So I probably used 3/4 of that big head of cabbage. So 2 pounds of burger, anywhere from a half of a cabbage all the way up to a full-size cabbage, depending on how big your cabbage is. I put about a half of an onion in there for good flavor, and maybe 5-6 cloves of garlic if you crunch them up. And I will make sure that I post this recipe so you have it. So I cheated, obviously, and I made my mom's homemade bread right here. So I've already went through and I've got it put together, and it's risen. I did this a couple hours ago, actually, and this is actual homemade bread. You can do. I usually use, and I'm not going to lie, I usually use the hot roll mix. Pillsbury makes a hot roll mix. It's really simple. You just put it in the bowl, and it rises in like 5-10 minutes, and you can use it. But because we're in a pandemic, guess what I cannot find in the stores? Of course, everybody seems to think that they need hot roll mix. It's like all of a sudden everybody's a baker, and they want to make hot roll mix. So anyway, never fear, my mom was actually sweet enough to give me her recipe for homemade bread. Now, this is a recipe that, I'm telling you, I call it Grandma Bonzoff's homemade bread, because my mom, who's now a great-grandma, she's been making this bread a long time, and for her making this bread, and she also makes homemade apple butter, she gives us that at Christmas every year, which every one of us kids and grandkids, we all love it, of course. So my mom, she gave me the recipe, and Mom, if you're watching, I hope you are. I dedicate this to you because you do make the best homemade bread, and I'm so proud to know that you would give me the recipe. So we're cooking up this. I'm cooking up the insides for the Runza right now. Flipping that around, let you see that. We got cabbage, we got burger. Cabbage is already cooking down a little bit. Now, I told you that I bought this giant skillet online. Guess what? They don't really come with lids. But that's okay. Hang on, everybody. Of course, it's not where I thought it would be. All right. So what's next? You're asking me what's next. What are we doing here with the dough? So you're going to take this dough, and then I'm going to be calling Jody out here pretty shortly. And what I love about Runzas is it's a family affair. So if you're a mom, dad, you're cooking in the kitchen, and you want to teach your kids how to cook something, Runzas is the perfect thing to do that with, because you kind of get into an assembly line. In a little bit, once that cabbage is cooked down inside that ground beef, we're going to bring that over here. And then Jody and I are going to work together building the Runza. The dough, I'm usually the roller, so I'll take, of course, the rolling pin, and I'm going to be rolling these out. And then Jody, she's the builder. So what gets built? Well, we'll show you in a little bit, but this is a key ingredient to every good Runza. A homemade Runza, you need Velveeta. Velveeta slices, or you can get the block of Velveeta and slice it down. I've gotten lazy over years, and I chose to buy the slices instead of getting the block and cutting it down. But anyway, so What's really cool is if you have kids and you're trying to teach them, you can do that with the Runza. You can teach your kids how to use a rolling pin because they don't have to be perfect. You show them how to roll them out, flour the surface, roll them with the pin, and then you pick that up and you set it over to the next place, and then that person could put the insides in, and then another person could actually cut the cheese and put that on there as well. So then you have like 2, 3, 4 people working to build the Runza. So the Runza really is a family affair. I love the Runza because it reminds me of home. I love the Runza because it reminds me of my family. It reminds me of my roots. You can't find this anywhere else. Guess what? Probably here in Phoenix, this is one of the only places you can find the Runza, is where Shawn Bonzoff and Jody Bonzoff live, because we can make them for you. In fact, I thought about starting a restaurant down here and just make homemade Runzas. Of course, we couldn't call them Runza because that would be trademarked, but important dish growing up. So give me 1 second. I'm going to go over here and check on the cabbage. I'll be right back, and we'll see about getting these started, assembled. So I told you a little bit earlier about fried potatoes at that German restaurant. Well, guess what? One of the perfect sides for your Runza is fried potatoes. And I took the liberty of go ahead and I cooked these earlier. I peeled them and cooked them because this is what I found over the years. This is a good substitute if, let's say you have a vegetarian in your family or your friends and they don't like ground beef. And that's going to happen. My wife, Jody, she's become a vegetarian, and I've actually found a good substitute for your ground beef is actually some fried potatoes. So I saved a little bit of that cabbage off to the side, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that in a separate skillet, and then I'm going to just put some fried potatoes in with it. And the great thing about fried potatoes is that once you've cooked them, if you don't use all of them, they're great for leftovers. What are they good for leftovers in? I love to use leftover fried potatoes the next morning for breakfast burritos. It's a great thing, breakfast burritos with homemade fried potatoes, not the potatoes, the frozen ones that you get. I'm talking about the real deal, the ones that you peel, you cook, and the next morning you add them with some sausage or bacon, eggs, salsa, chilies, whatever it is that you like to use for your breakfast burritos. That's what I do with my leftover fried potatoes. Like I said, I made these earlier. I'm going to get them in the skillet real quick. You can just sit here, take a look at what I'm doing. Put a little bit of olive oil in for the cabbage. And like I said, this is a great substitute for vegetarian Runzas. You got to have something inside the Runza with your cabbage. Cabbage and bread is not really, I don't know, it's kind of weird, so who wants to do that? So when I figured out, guess what, one of the best sides with Runzas is fried potatoes, I said, why not for those people who they don't like beef, you just make vegetarian options with the fried potatoes. So that's what I've done actually. Put a little bit of this cabbage here for my wifey, who just came out because she knows it's about time to start building these bad boys. So can I talk to you a few minutes about something that's kind of been on my heart? Tomorrow's Easter, right? And so we've gone through Good Friday, which was yesterday, and historically, I think everybody kind of knows what Good Friday is all about. That's the day that Jesus was crucified. And then, so what about this Saturday? What about the Saturday in between and between Friday and Sunday? Have you ever thought about the Saturday and how Saturdays kind of would be a dark day? And I was thinking about this COVID-19 thing we got going on, and how we're kind of in dark days. It's almost like this is this never-ending Saturday. Every day we get up, it's like we're still stuck. We're still stuck in this. I don't know. I want to get so gloomy and call it a dark grave or a dungeon, but like I want to go get something to eat at a restaurant. I mean, I love to cook. Obviously, I've been having this cooking show now for a few weeks, and I love cooking, but I would also love to be able to go out and see people, hug people, and I kind of feel like we're in this never-ending Saturday. It's kind of a gloomy place. And so think about this, like if you're a disciple of Jesus and you've been wandering around with him and he's been performing all these miracles, he's turning water to wine, he's bringing back dead people to life, he's just doing all this stuff, right? He's healing the blind, he's healing the sick, and you're a disciple, you're walking around thinking, dude, this is amazing. You've been through Palm Sunday, which was last week, and there's this hope you have that Jesus really is the Messiah, right? And everything is really going to work out, and everything is going to be all right. He's come to save us. And then boom, on Friday, he's hung on the cross. And now you're a disciple and you're like, dude, this sucks. What just happened, right? I thought Jesus said he was going to fix everything, and now he's dead. He did say that he was going to come back, but we don't know. We're a disciple. We don't have a clue. You and I, we're just people. So the Saturday would have been a real dark place. Imagine being Jesus' mom. Imagine being Mary Magdalene and Peter and John, the guys and girls that followed him. He's dead and he's in this tomb. And Saturday is kind of scary. You would feel like there was not much hope. That's kind of maybe how some of us feel right now, like with this pandemic. Maybe you got some family that are struggling through it. We had one guy that I work with, his family, they're struggling with it. I don't know if anybody else watching this has been infected with the virus. I just want you to know that, man, we love you. We'll be praying for you. You can get through this. We'll pray for you. Just let us know, really. You can PM me, let me know about it, and we'll pray for you. So what about this Saturday? What about the loneliness and being scared and being afraid? Guess what? Sunday is tomorrow. Guess what? Jesus did. He did raise up on Easter morning. And everything is okay. Life isn't perfect. Some of us struggle. You might be scared. But can I tell you something? No matter who the president is, no matter who your boss is, no matter who I am, Jesus is Jesus. And no pandemic, no virus is going to change that. So I guess rest in that if you want. It gives me hope on the daily. I ain't perfect. I still get scared. Don't get me wrong. I still think about it, actually, every day. Like, what if this is the end? But then, I guess the Lord, he always reminds me. So what if it is, Shawn? You're all right, So are you all right? We talked about this the very first time we got together, when I was in Iraq, and just making sure I'm all right in my life. And I'm just asking you the same thing. Do you feel like you're all right in your life? But, all right, we're getting real close. I'm going to show this to you real quick. I'm going to flip that around. Look at that bad boy. Is this not amazing? James Flam just tuned in. If you just tuned in, we're making the world famous, Nebraska famous Runza here. I'm going to set us right here. Wifey's here, part of my assembling crew. Like I told you, Runzas are a great family recipe to work on together because you get to assemble them together. So, I'm going to go over here and grab this for Jody. And before we get started, I'll show you how we're going to assemble everything.
Don't worry.
Yeah, kind of wanted you to have this here, babe. You flip that this way a little bit. Okay. This is also a key for when you're eating Runzas. If you're from Nebraska, this is made there as well. It's a great little side dish. Okay, so Jody's gonna hold this. We're gonna start the assembly of the Runza. I think I shut off both those burners. Let's get a good floured counter right here. You're gonna dig into the dough that you've already had rising. Just gonna take off a little ball like that, somewhere around this big per Runza. Flap it like that, put it like that. I flip it over once so it doesn't stick to the counter. And I'm gonna flour up the old rolling pin right here. And then we're gonna roll these out flat. And you can tell if you were doing this with your kids how much fun this would be. I mean, this is like craft project 101, but in the end, you get this delicious food. So because you've already done that, you can just flap that right there. So then Jody, she's holding the camera. She'll do this the rest of the time. But we have one of these slotted spoons. We call it the slotted pig. You know, have you ever seen Toy Story? So you make sure you don't have any grease or because cabbage has quite a bit of water in it. And then you just put it down in here. You're just going to create a pocket full of deliciousness. We're going to take the Velveeta cheese. Jody's already got that taken care of. And I like to split her in half and put it like that. Are you tracking? I know right now you want one of these. Fold it. You're going to fold it all these ends in together. And you've made a Runza like this. And then we've already pre-greased this pan. You're just going to put it in there. Hang you back up. All right. We're going to do this together, Jody and I. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. I don't know if you can. We'll do another one. About this much dough like that. Once over on the floured container. You're going to get floured this. Rolling pin. Cheese. Get that over here. Jody, the sous chef of the world. She's going to make the deliciousness now. Cheese. Velveeta, remember, she crosses it. Why not? It's Easter. Let's make a cross with our Velveeta. Yeah, there you go.
It doesn't have to be perfect.
It doesn't have to be perfect. All right.
All together.
Okay. Hi, Craig. So now we're going to go on and do this, obviously, and we're going to put them in the oven.
350?
You cook them at 350 for about 20 minutes, I would say. Pretty simple. What's great about Runzas is that after you've cooked them, you eat what you want, and then you can freeze them, put them in these freezer bags, freeze them up real good, take them out the next day. You can take them to work, put them in your lunchbox, take them on a picnic, whatever. They'll thaw out, and you can cook them in the microwave. They're great with ketchup, great with, like I said, Dorothy Lynch right here. They're great without any of those things. I would say over the years of eating a Runza, my favorite thing to do is eat fried potatoes on the side of the Runza. My good buddy Craig Cummings, who I used to make Runzas with, he would agree with that. In fact, he wouldn't even take the bread sometimes. He would just put the fried potatoes in with the ground beef, the cabbage, and boom, you just have a meal. What are you going to do with all of this? Well, I can tell you this will make about 16 Runzas. Pretty good size Runzas. So the 2 pounds of burger, 1 cabbage, about 16 Runzas. For bread, if you get the hot roll mix, two boxes will make about 16 Runzas. So I'm not sure exactly how much this is going to make. I'm guessing around 12. I didn't do it because I made my mom's homemade bread. So you put them in, you cook them up, you have them for good. So what if you have leftover stuff? This is really good leftover. You can warm it up the next day. You can eat it with a piece of bread and butter. That's what, if you run out of dough, you always have a piece of bread and butter as well. But we'll put them in the oven, and we'll have the deliciousness. I hope today that you got to see probably one of my favorite things in the whole wide world, and that is the Runza on my birthday edition. And Jody said I could have what I wanted for my birthday. And I said, well, I got to have Runzas because that's what I would have had when I was a kid. So thanks for watching today on Slow Cooking with Shawn. We love you guys. Have a happy Easter. And as we put these in the oven, think about Jesus on the Saturday in between Good Friday and Easter morning. He was there. He did all that for you and me. He loved you enough to go down where it was dark. He loved you enough to give his life. And that's something to remember today. Would you show that same kind of love for people? Jesus said, no greater love has a man than to lay down his life for another. And that's what the Lord did for us. Think about that tomorrow morning as you maybe get up for sunrise service. Think about what Jesus did and think about how is it that you can love people around you. Thanks for watching Slow Cooking with Shawn. Love you guys. Have a great day. Bye.